Hi folks, we're going to pick up and go over a few things we've looked at. I'm going to go over just briefly the bottom of page 88, Michael Row the Boat Ashore. This is an exercise. It's one of the two easier songs introducing this new hand position on 88, where your right hand will share notes with your thumb. Nothing is new in the left hand. I'm going to play the song through, then go over the second line because I didn't really focus on that. So the second line really starts at the very end of the first line with that pickup. And the only right hand is at the end. Now notice your four fingers on a G, and I still have the bandage on my right hand. Now, of course, it's possible to shift your hand over and play in that position, but you do need to learn to play in slightly different hand positions. Ultimately, you'll be playing all over. So I'm going to set my right hand up ready to go, and I'm going to start right before the second to last measure. The pickup. And they move in what's called parallel tenths. Parallel because they move in the same direction. And they sound great. They're a very consonant, smooth interval. It's the same as thirds, but spread out. Now, we're going to look at part of Blow the Man Down. I went over the right hand, the left hand is only really a couple different chords, and I put part of it together. What I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on the last two lines. Now, the actual third phrase starts in the middle of the third line, but in that case, I can start in the beginning of the measure and it will sound fine. That note has a fermata. We're going to hold that. Ritardando. We hold that a little longer. It kind of slows down a little bit at the end. Now, line 3 is your easiest line because it's just consistent rhythm. Everything is moving together. That makes it easier. Last line. We again have that uneven rhythm. If you have been working on this song, working on the first two places where this happens, this rhythm happens, this will be easier for you. But each occurrence, it's in the beginning, and it is, well, it's twice in the beginning, but it's the same. It's at the end of the second line. And each of those two occurrences, the rhythm's the same, but the notes are different. So it's going to take practice. Now, if we start right at the second to last measure, it's important that you figure out what's your fingering going to be. So what you might want to do is you might want to look back until you find a number. If we look back, second to last measure, third, fourth from the last measure, they give you fingering. and we discover we will be on a 2-finger. So you're going to need to work through this the same way I gave you to work on it before. It's just different notes. You might start just like that with just 2 beats, then add a note. And of course, you would be repeating that. You don't just do it once. When you are ready, do one more step, then repeat. And you do that till you notice it feels easier. Then you continue to the end. Okay, so we are moving on. I introduced page 90, 91. That's all the same song. Lone Star Waltz. And I'm not going to play the whole thing now. What I am going to do is show you things people miss. If we look at the beginning, a big thing people miss is they look at the finger numbers, but not the notes. And often they get it right in the beginning. But then they look at 1, 3, 5. They just play the numbers rather than seeing what happens. What happens is your hand is set up in the same position we've looked at. And your thumb moves to D. That repeats. Then your thumb goes back to C, and guess what? They don't put a 1 there. They don't tell you. In piano, you learn patterns, and ultimately you will just recognize where your hand needs to be. And so they're kind of letting you do that now. The first line and second line, the right hand is identical. The left hand is different at the end. At the end of the first line, at the end of the second line, that's a different pattern. Now we see the word fine there, but that's for the second time at the very end. We see a double bar, but we keep going. The fine tells us we need to keep going. So you would go to that second section, and you would go through that second page, and at the bottom it says D, C, al fine. That stands for da capo al fine. Da capo means from the head, from the beginning, up to the word fine. Now, I'm not going to go over this entire page. I'm just going to point out again that the left hand and right hand will be playing staccato. There's a pink box at the top. Check that over. These are detached. They don't have to be super quick and like hot potato short. They're just detached. So I sent videos of that. We're going to move on. Page 92 talks about measuring sevenths and octaves. An octave is an eighth. There's pink boxes there that shows both the sevenths and the eighths, and there's no clef in these boxes. So you can imagine either clef being there. They're just showing the interval rather than the specific note. So take a look at that. Then underneath you'll practice second. And on the third, they're going to use fingering to show you stretching over a little bit. And when you run out of fingers, you reach. That's the right hand. You're going to practice that, and then you're going to do the same thing, same fingering, harmonic. The 2 is going to reach over. Stretch, reach. Alrighty. The left hand is going to play the same notes, but obviously we have different fingering. I'm down here on low C. Now when I run out of fingers, My thumb is going to reach practice that, and then do the same thing harmonic. Page 93 is writing sevenths and octaves. You're going to want to read that through. There's diagrams showing what these intervals look like, and there's a few lines for you to practice writing different intervals above notes. Now, we are going to start a new song today, Cafe Vienna. I'm going to play you 2 lines. Reach for the new note, B. Now, line 3 is exactly like line 1, but you will notice they don't give you as much fingering because it's going to be the same. Line 4, it starts out just like line 2. At the end, the last 2 measures are different. And there's your octave with the fermata. Now, you're going to really start working on this with the right hand. The left hand is all basic. It should be very easy for you. We've got eighth notes, quarters. Here's our new interval. And look what happens. Your hand has shifted up because you're now reaching up for the B and you kind of shift over. So you're going to need to work that out. Let's look at how to practice this. Let's do 2 measures. I'm in this position that we've been working in with the thumb where it's ready to share, but we're not sharing here. So that's not that new. But in the next measure, this is a 7th, up to the B and step down. That's new, and you're going to keep stepping down. So that's going to be your challenge in this piece. And you've got harmony here together. So that's going to take some work. If you look at the second line, your hand is kind of in the same position you were. I'll do that again. This is the same. That's the same as the end of line 1. You do the first measure there again, but it's different. So in the right hand, you start in this position in line 2. Just like in the beginning, you start stretched out here, you're just going to be up 1. Your thumb comes up. So we're really moving your hand in little stages up. So you're going to want to work on that. Work on the right hand before you're concerned about the left hand. This won't be as hard to put together as Blow the Man Down. You want to get that right hand down first, and then gradually you'll get that. Let's just look at the very end. Last 2 measures. This is going to be your old C position. Octave, reach. So that's pretty easy. Left hand. Very easy. So your priorities in this song, Cafe Vienna, work on the right hand. Make sure you're shifting your hand into the right positions. There are other ways to play some of these notes, but you have to learn hand positions, and the only way to do that is by following fingering and working through positions. So focus on the right hand first, probably 2 measure groups, then putting lines together. Once you're comfortable with that, then start putting 2 hands together in 2 measure groups. Now, in this class, we are not going to do page 95. The next thing we're going to do is 96, and I'm just going to give you like a little preview of this. They introduced the flat sign, the B flat here. This is your first flat. And there's a graph here. There's 3 black notes. There's your B flat. This is the sign. It looks kind of like a distorted B. It's right next to C. And now we're going to get some flats in this class. We're going to have a couple others down the road. But they've given you a pretty easy song to learn this. Oh, and let me mention this too. We had this before with sharps, but there's still the same rule that if a flat appears in a measure, like here in the second measure, that's a B flat. So that second B is going to be flat too. Because of the rule, a flat is going to last up to the bar line. Same with a sharp or a natural. Up until the bar line, then it goes back to regular. If the composer wants a flat, they have to then write it in. That's just the way these codes developed. So I guess there's like a common language there, so everybody knows how it works. Now, I am going to play the song all the way through. You'll see the first 2 lines and last 2 are very similar. Here we go. B flat. This is flat 2. Little more motion at the end. So depending how your songs are going, if they're going well, you might want to work ahead. If not, you can wait for this. I will come back and do a video where I break it down. Left hand is really pretty basic, but I will play it much slower so you get it. So that's where we're signing off for today.